The FNaF lore has been confusing for a while now, and the book's canonicity slash being the same continuity is something that I'm going to be discussing for one specific reason. And what I mean by books, I mean both Fazbear Frights and Tales from the Pizzaplex. You see, Scott has recently talked about a random email that's fake, and when people were talking about the canonicity of the books, he said yes, that is correct. Now you might be thinking, why Stitchline slash Fazbear's Frights and Tales from the Pizzaplex? Well, specifically referencing Stitchline and TalesGame. To explain it, the stories and Frights that connect to the Stitchline plotline are canon to the games, and Tales games is basically just the Tales books basically being canon to the games. All Tales books. Okay? And you might be thinking, well, why shouldn't they be canon? Like, after all, they're made by the same writers, presumably, so why shouldn't they be all considered canon? An argument against both theories is fact, well, the Silver Rise trilogy aren't in the same continuity, so why should it be any different with Frights and Tales? Not to mention in that Scott has stated that FNaF 1 to 4 plus World was so compact that making a book series take place in the same continuity would be a bad idea. So why can't we apply that to both Tales and Frights? Let's get like TalesGame out of the way first. TalesGame, the original description for TalesGames has stated that they were in the world of the latest game. So, kinda makes sense, but it was changed to Uncharted canon. Or some people have stated, someone said that the old description still apply. To my knowledge, Scott never really say anything about it other than that Reddit post, so yeah. With that said, I do think TalesGame can be true, I'm just not the biggest fan of TalesGame. Meanwhile, I don't actually believe in Stitchline. Mostly because I just don't buy the fact that Fun and Freddy in Count the Ways is a prototype, or it's not convincing. Some people use this post as evidence, the one where this says some connected directly to the games and some not. And while this would have applied with like just the 5 books, I just don't really believe it nowadays. He said that when it was like 20% done, so the plans could have easily changed to not be canon anymore. And even if we take it at face value, some stories don't really seem convincing to be connected, like Fetch, with an animatronic dog. And, well, the real Jake. The real Jake only connects if you believe in Will Plush, where William is the plushie talking to the bite victim. But if you believe in Charlie Plush or something like that, then the real Jake doesn't really connect. Not to mention, there are like some extra stories that aren't even considered to be connected or flash, in a stitch rave, but only possibility if you're willing to speculate. And funny thing is, there's like 2 stories here that I think connects to the games more than like some of the Stitchline plotline. What we found, and room for one more. That being what we found, which is literally just a retelling of FNaF 3. A guy being terrified that Springtrap is there and being haunted by hallucinations that are similar to the Phantoms, and about a guy who's hearing the voice of his abusive father. That's literally FNaF 3, if you believe Michael Afton is the guard in FNaF 3, which is most likely at this point. And room for one more, which is basically just kind of retelling of Sister Location. But the animatronics going inside someone just to escape and using that someone as a skin suit before they combust or collapse and walking sickly. That is basically Sister Location with some few changes. But yeah, they connect better than anything else. And they both connect because Frailty has like appendage, so much with like, you know, beautiful Eleanor. But that kind of serves as a problem because, well, if that means they both are canon, then that means under, well, this, the two suspects that people theorize from the books to be the murderous kid can't be the case. It means Mike or Five Victim has to be the kid. The two characters being Andrew from the Stitch Grave Stingers, and the other being Rory from Didophobia, which is basically a retelling of FNaF 4, which, oh boy. And before you say, why can't he be both? Well, Midnight Murderers has only happened like once to our knowledge, and if it did, that means, well, it can't be both. If you're a hard true believer of Stitchline games, you can't really think Tales games because that has Rory implication. And Didophobia, if you're a Tales games believer, you can't really believe in Stitchline, can you? I should also mention that, like, in Didophobia, the kidnapping, like, / running away only happened, like, once, so you can't really be Rory, you cannot really be the Midnight Murderers kid. And so this kind of probably gets a point for Andrew, but even then, a problem I have with, like, in both cases, and hell, even under, well, like I mentioned in Cassidy Midnight Motorist, the fact that it was raining in the minigame. We see it rains in the minigame. You may be wondering, how is that a problem? Well, like I mentioned in some previous videos, that once spring blocks got water / moisture on them, you're gonna be in bad surprise. We know this is the case because what we see in Five Nights at Freddy's 3. So there's that issue. The only way for Kidnap and Midnight Motorist to work is that Glitch Trap is actually an outfit William used, and it's not some sort of part of a Mimic program or something like that. That's it. And like I mentioned in the previous video, that one's flawed because in the case of Fruity Maze and what we see in Into the Pit, in both cases, is the actual Spring Bonnie Springlock suit. Which leads us to this Reddit post. We say, yes, that is correct. This is saying, yes, the books are indeed in the same continuity, or yes, it is in fact not the case that the books are in the same continuity and thus they aren't part of the game timeline. Because that's what yes, correct could mean. It's also possible Scott is just like, trolling, like with Mango being a yes at this point. And that's like the most frustrating part about this whole entire thing. As much as him trolling means that it's not confirming Stitchline and TalesGame to be true, it's also not deconfirming those two. And that's pretty much how I feel about this whole thing. It's so freaking frustrating. Looks like you reached the end of another video. See you in the next one.